We're talking about the property world and what can be done to help first-time buyers, or do you have to just give up any hope of that? And equally, you may be concerned about even being able to pay the mortgage that you have got. I want to talk about the leasehold issue as well. If you've got a view on that, it's a huge problem for a lot of people. 0345 6060 973. Joanne is in Bolton. Hello, Joanne.
Hi.
Hi, what would you like to say?
I'm one of the people that's been affected by the leasehold scandal.
Ah, right. Well, explain what happened. Well, don't mention the company, but tell us your story.
I won't mention the company. But I was delighted by today's news. So when we bought our house here in Bolton in 2010, we bought it from the developer. They told us it had a doubling ground rent, and my husband and I went, "Oh, that's a bit steep." And they said, "But you can buy the freehold at any time for about £5,000."
Right.
So we thought, well, with the cost of moving, we'll buy it before it doubles, but we'll buy it. What they didn't tell us was that they planned to sell it on to an offshore freeholder, which they did 11 months later. And the price to buy it went up from $5,000 to over $30,000. What they also didn't tell us was that the leasehold came with onerous permission fees for making changes to your house. So a neighbour of mine wanted to build a small extension to the property, and the permission fee alone was over £2,000.
That's terrible.
So the definition of mis-selling to me, Clive, is that people, you've got all the information you need to make an informed choice, and critical information was withheld. If they'd have told us they were going to sell the freehold, we would have bought the house, but we would have also bought the freehold for £5,000.
I mean, that sounds appalling. I think the first thing to pick up on is this doubling of ground rent, which, I've heard stories about this, but, I mean, doubling exponentially is ludicrous. You could end up with,
so my ground rent was £295 at the start.
Yeah.
In 50 years' time, it'll be £9,440 a year.
Yeah, which is not really fair, is it?
No, not at all.
I mean, you could just about make a case that it should go up with inflation or something, but really ground rent is meant to be just a nominal amount, isn't it? That's what most people assume it would be.
It's a charge for no service.
Yeah.
But what I know now that I didn't know then was that they've basically created a secondary asset, through ground rents on our properties.
Yes, and it was sort of big business, wasn't it? That you'd have these freeholds, and as you say, they could be sold on to other people. Yeah. But if you've got a lease, isn't all of this in the lease?
The fact that it doubles is in the lease. The fact that you need permission fees is not explicit. There's no schedule of fees. It just says you have to ask our permission. It doesn't actually say that a fee is charged. It's only when you try to do something that you find out that there is a fee.
Okay. So that's legally debatable then?
Yeah, and I used the solicitor that was recommended by the developer, thinking that was fine.
Dear. Yeah.
And
probably not the best way.
So they did tell me the ground rent doubled, but they certainly didn't flag it as onerous. And let's face it, they wouldn't stay on the developers panel for long if they said, please don't buy this house, this ground rent's onerous, would they?
No, I mean, that's what I was wondering, though, is whether if you've got a lease, surely your solicitor should pick up on these things and say, hang on a minute, you might end up having to pay a fortune here.
They did, but I firmly believe that the solicitors in some ways they were complicit, but it's the developer that I personally blame for creating these leases. They knew what they were doing.
Yes. So is there anything you can do about it now? Are you heartened by what we hear the news today?
I would love to think that today's news would shame these developers into doing the right thing, but every correspondence I've had with my developer since I bought this house, I've been treated with nothing but contempt, and I've no reason to think that they're going to suddenly roll over. So my only option at the minute is to either wait, and who knows how long that takes, and in the meantime my ground rent doubles, or I buy my way out for the £30,000 it's now going to cost me.
There could be, I mean, there was on the books a law change on leasehold, which obviously hasn't happened because of Brexit, first of all, and COVID, but could a change in the law save you?
It depends how quickly it comes, I guess. And what we tended to find is every time I've tried to make something happen as part of this. You find out that what they say is, well, it's existing contract law and you can't go messing with, you signed a contract, it's existing contract law, and that's all rather messy.
But your case is that you were misled, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Critical information was withheld at the point of sale, and it would have changed my decision had I had that information.
Right. And in terms of moving then, how easy would it be for you to just sell your property and move on?
I couldn't sell my property at the moment. A mortgage lender wouldn't lend on a doubling ground rent.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So
I mean, if it doubles
you're
more
stuck.
frequently than every 20 years, then most mortgage lenders will lend, so I'm stuck. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to move, but that's not the point. There's plenty of other families in the same situation as me that
it makes your property unsaleable, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
How often does it double?
Every 10 years.
Okay. Well, I've heard worse. I mean, that's not good, but I have heard worse, that it gets very quickly into tens of thousands of pounds. Joanne, thank you very much for that. 0345 6060 973. Paul in Bournemouth says no house should be sold leasehold. All these property companies should have to buy back the freeholds and give to the property owners. This will possibly break the property companies, but they deserve it.